Okay, so you have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So you know that a is the first one, b is the second one, and c is the third one. And you want to put it into the formula negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so you have to distinguish what is b, what is a, and what is c, and then you just put it into the formula. So for the first one, on number 10, you have n squared minus 6n minus 1. So a is 1, b is negative 6, and c is negative 1. So then you have to put it into the formula. So you take the opposite. So this is negative b, and b is actually negative 6. So it's going to be positive 6, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So positive 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 1 all over 2 times 1. Okay, so you're just plugging in to the formula, and then you're solving. So you have 6 plus or minus, and you have 6 squared, which is 36, minus, but this is 4 times 1 times negative 1. So negative 4 times 1 times negative 1, which is going to give you a positive 4. Because if you look at it, you've got negative 4 times 1 times negative 1, which gives you a negative times a negative is a positive, times 1, which gives you that positive 4. Then you're going to divide by 2 times 1, which is 2. And then you add that up. So you get 6 plus or minus the square root of 40 all over 2. And if you can break this down some more, I'm not sure if your teacher wants you to do that, but if you know how to do the square root, you would take, the square root of 40, and you would break that down to 4 and 10, and you know that, and then 2 and 5, but you have that perfect square, which is 4, which is 2 and 2. So if you've done the square root, you know that perfect squares, those come out. So you have a pair, it comes out. So you really have, and those two aren't a pair. So this is going to be 2 square root of 10, which is 40. So you can go over here and say 6 plus or minus 2, the square root of 10 all over 2. And then I'm not quite sure if you're factoring 2. So if you're factoring, so first you had to simplify the square root. And now you can say you have two answers. You have 6 plus 2 square root of 10 all over 2, or 6 minus 2 the square root of 10 all over 2. Okay? And you know that 6 and 2, they have 2 in common, so I can factor out a 2. So that leaves me 3 plus the square root of 10 all over 2, and this one leaves me, if I factor out a 2, that leaves me 3 minus the square root of 10 all over 2, and then you can eliminate the 2's, and so then you're left, because they have that in common, and remember, you can't eliminate if it's adding or subtracting, but you can eliminate if it's being multiplied. So then you have 3 plus the square root of 10, or 3 minus the square root of 10. Okay, so that's 10, and that's probably where some of the places you were maybe having trouble with is just breaking down that square root and then factoring. So there's a lot going on in this problem. So let's try another one. Okay, so we're going, let's see, let me erase this one. Okay, so then let's do 12. Okay, so again, we have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so now the next one is 12, and 12 is negative 2x squared, or z, sorry, 2z squared plus 8z plus 5. Okay, so let's figure out a is negative 2, b is 8, and c is 5. So now we're going to plug it in. So in this case, we have a positive 8 for representing b, and we have that negative b right there. So it's actually going to be a negative 8 because a negative times a positive gives me a negative, excuse me, plus or minus 8, right? Squared minus 4 times negative 2 times 5, okay, all over 2 times negative 2. Okay, so now we've got to simplify this down. So we have negative 8 plus or minus the square root. We know that 8 squared is 64. And then we have this negative and this negative. So we know we're going to get a positive times a positive. So negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. Positive 8 times 5 is going to give me plus 40 all over negative 4. Sorry. All over negative 4. Because 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Okay, and then we have negative 8 plus or minus the square root. We add that together. We get 104 all over negative 4. And then we look at the square root of 104, and we break it down to, let's see, 2 and 52. And then we can break this down to 2 and 26. And then we can break this one down to 2 and 13. So 26 doesn't have any perfect squares in it, but we have these two 2's that we can bring out. Because once you get a pair, once it has a friend, it can come outside. So you bring the 2 out, but you're left with the 26 inside. So now we bring down the negative 8 plus or minus all over negative 4. Okay, now we have to figure out, they have 2 in common, or we can break it down. I like to break it down into 2. Or we know we have negative 8 minus 2, 26 all over negative 4. Okay, so then I can factor out on this one, on the first one, I can factor out a negative 2, leaving me with 4 plus the square root of 26 all over negative 4, or factor out a negative 2 again. Ooh, nope, I can't well, I can, but I forgot to put a plus there, sorry. One's minus and one's plus because it's plus and minus. Negative 2, and then what do I have left on that one? But I have a 4, and now I have a 4 minus the square root of 26 all over negative 4. And now I can simplify it even further down because I know that the negative 2 and the negative 4 have negative 2 in common. So that cancels out and makes that a 1. And that cancels out and makes that a 2. So that cancels out, makes it a 1. That cancels out, makes it a 2. So our final answer is 4 plus the square root of 26 all over 2, r 4 minus the square root of 26 all over 2. And remember, 4 plus the square root of 26, you can't factor out another 2 unless you factor it out on the top. It has to be multiplication. Adding and subtracting, you cannot do that, okay? You cannot eliminate it. So these would be your final answers. Okay, so again, you're breaking down those square roots, and then you're factoring out, okay? So that is where I think that you're going wrong, or you feel like maybe you're having trouble with, is the ending answer. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video.